Hello and welcome back to the Thought Leader Crew podcast. I'm Sam Barlett, and today I'm joined by John Bernatovicz, founder at Willowry. John, welcome to the show.
Hey, Sam, appreciate you very much. Thankful to have the opportunity to chat with you, and cheers and nothing but the best. Let's have some fun over the next
Yep,
20 minutes or so.
absolutely, John. So yeah, I like to always start simple. What's the one thing that's exciting you right now, either business or personally?
Kind of sort of surprised how quickly time is going by. That's the thing in my mind that I feel like, when in the world did days become weeks, weeks become months, months become years? I just am fascinated. I don't know whether it's busy schedules or multiple responsibilities. My kids are getting older, whatever the case might be. But I always heard this for the longest time. And now I can understand why people of my age now were telling me when I was a younger version of myself, just hold on, John, because time's going to fly by.
Yeah, you hear that a lot, don't you? When you're younger, you don't really take much notice of it. But yeah, I feel exactly the same. When you grow up and you get older, it absolutely flies by. It's crazy, right? Yeah, I feel the same way. And yeah, you've been leading Willowry for quite some time now. If someone asked you how the company was different today compared to the earlier days, what's the first thing that comes to mind?
I think two things specifically stand out. Great question. Appreciate it. Number one, when it first started out, it was just me. And that was a very interesting, exciting, exhilarating experience. At the time, my kids were 2 and 0 years old, which now they're 18 and 16. That's a drastic difference. Number one, just being a solopreneur and now running a business with almost 40 employees. Very thankful for that. And then I'd say the second thing is, when I started the firm out, I really was in this. I wanted to be a business owner. How could I find a way to replace the income I had having worked in both corporate America and another boutique firm? I was really just motivated on my own personal financial situation and how can I build a business and a living. But over time, it's become clear that the best way for us to serve our clients is to empower people, which is our purpose, and to give as much as we can to our community, which is HR and payroll professionals. I think the biggest pivot for me has been not making it about John Bernatovicz and making it about those that we serve.
Love that. And I know you host your own podcast. How has that kind of shared your perspective as both business owner and someone who's trying to give back to the industry?
Now, I will go back on what I just said, because when I was in sales and I worked for a corporate organization and also in my previous boutique firm, doing a podcast is one of the most unique ways to get an appointment and have a conversation with someone about something you normally wouldn't speak about, because you're recording and there's people that are pros as podcast guests. They've been on 10, 15, 20 different shows when I talk to them. But then more than half of them, it's the first time they've ever been on a podcast. And that feels really cool to see how they respond compared to a podcasting pro. And what the podcast has done for me is it's allowed me to have conversations with people that I likely never would have had, number one. And I have learned so much from those conversations, to where I'm taking small bits and bites of what we share and learn for future content, for future strategy inside of my firm on how we best can empower and support the HR and payroll communities. And it's giving me a lens into what the future might hold, and being able to figure out what kind of strategic pivots and innovations do we want to make to be able to better serve the communities of both human resource, payroll, and businesses. And that part has just been profound. I'm so thankful that we did it. We actually started the podcast sort of kind of by mistake, because I was interviewing people for a book I was writing, and I recorded on Zoom inside of the time of COVID, and a couple episodes in to two dear friends that were showcased in my book. And my marketing director, I'll never forget, calls me and says, "Hey, John, love the interviews you did with Lauren and George. As a matter of fact, I could turn it into a podcast." And now we're just about to launch season 6. And in just a few episodes, we'll have our 200th episode, which is hard to believe. And we've been recognized as a top 10, top 5 podcast within the HR space, which is really, really, really cool.
Yeah, that is so cool. And yeah, congratulations on that. And I think podcasts, it's such a powerful platform. I think, yeah, it works so well. You've done a fantastic job there for sure. And yeah, Willowry is all about helping companies with people, but what about you? How do you personally approach attracting top talent into your own business?
Who you're going after as an ideal client. Then once you do that, you can tell a story about your business to people. And in that process, we developed our core values, which we've had almost now for 10 years. We haven't changed them. We've talked about modifying them and adjusting them, but we live in our interviewing process by those core values. We're trying our best to find the right person that fits within our culture that can then do the job that we're asking them to do. And being in the recruiting business and helping companies staff their own internal operational roles or HR or payroll, I see them oftentimes doing that in reverse, Sam, where they need a payroll manager that has this experience with this system. And they're trying to find that first and foremost and not as focused on, well, will they fit the business? Do they get the vision? Are they the type of character? Do they align to our core values? And it's the classic you hire for skill, you fire for fit. And we've tried to refine that interviewing process. And then what we do once we hire them, we make sure that we recognize people when they live by our core values. We have a weekly call in which we give each one of our employees a chance to showcase someone else that lived by our 5 core values. And then you can't just recognize when somebody strays outside of the core values of greatness through accountability or passionate desire to improve or enthusiasm in all you do or live by the golden rule. We have to create a set of accountabilities. There are boundaries for the things that we accept within our business. And I love the definition of culture. Someone once shared with me, it's the lowest denominator of behavior that you will accept. And so there are certain things we can accept and certain things that we cannot. And I think as a result of being very clear and also having a fabulous group of people who attract other people just by them being who they are has allowed us to be successful when it comes to bringing in top talent, giving them great opportunities, developing their skills, letting them showcase what those skills are, and reaching beyond their potential.
And have you seen any kind of generational differences in how talent responds to leadership and culture? Millennials versus Gen Z.
I would say there's definitely a dichotomy to that. I think we have some employees. As a matter of fact, there's a gentleman who, if he was on the show, would tell you that I dragged him out of retirement to do some work inside of our organization and has been working for over 40 years. He's probably one of the most passionate employees that I have. He loves our culture. He loves the business dynamic that we've structured, the services that we offer. He's as passionate as a 40-year plus experienced vet of business and HR and payroll as some of the employees that we have just hired that have maybe less than 5 years of professional experience. And I think, again, going back to those core values and making sure we're ultimately looking for people that align to them, no matter where they fit within the generational classification or how many years of experience that they have. Just because you may be less experienced, it doesn't mean we don't want you to fit into our core values. So we really don't stray off of those, Sam. We try our best to not do that. And as a result, I think we've hired people, whether they're 40-year vets or they're 1 or 2 years of professional experience, that align to those values. And it just makes it just so much easier, more clear, and setting expectations.
Yeah, and from your vantage point, what's changing the fastest in HR technology that leaders just aren't keeping up with?
I think the logical answer, what everybody's spooked out about, is AI and what it's going to mean and how it's going to disrupt not only human resources, but all of business. And I think why that's so important in the realm of HR is that we're dealing with artificial intelligence that we traditionally were using human intelligence or human beings to deliver whatever things that might be, whether content on a marketing website or it's a new blog post or it's a proposal in sales, whatever the case might be. And I think the evolution of how the humans inside of our business are leveraging this new form of technology, because I'm sure I'm a tad bit older than you, Sam, but I used to work at a company where I didn't have a computer, did everything manually. And then a computer came along and there was all this concern. Then the internet came along and there was all this concern. And then one change after a technological change. And I know the human being will evolve, it will innovate, it will revise itself to be able to live within whatever confines of that technological advancement. I think that's one major thing. I think the other thing that I'll dive into is, and I speak about this all the time. I'm blessed to share the story of HR like a boss and innovations around how to deliver HR in an amazingly awesome way. Is that I think that we've gotten away from caring about how people feel at work, really digging into the emotions and the things that will cause them to be happy at work and do good at what they do, and they at the same time were a little more naive or look the other way when they're not feeling great. And I think that has to do with managers and leaders lacking a high degree and capabilities within emotional intelligence. Sometimes you just don't want to deal with conflict. Sometimes you want to blame the other person for where they're at, and we really empower people to love what they do and to take ownership. And I think that lack of emotional intelligence, that lack of ability to communicate clearly in times of challenge, as well as then being able to deliver and build relationships with your employees in a way that allows them to be comfortable sharing with you their concerns and expressing new ideas. I just think we're running so fast. We're so focused on bottom line results. We've learned over time to maybe not value people quite as much as we should. And as a result, the data points are suggesting that engagement levels that are at a decade low, job satisfaction is plummeting, and people are looking for meaning in what they do every single day. And we have just lost sight of how people truly feel and doing something about it when we hear those things.
Yeah, absolutely. It's such an important message. And do you think AI will replace certain roles, or is it more about augmenting and empowering HR professionals?
I think there are elements that AI will replace certain parts of the roles of human resources and payroll and other jobs for that matter, marketing and sales, etc. What I do think is that if I get this question all the time, do you think AI will put me out of work? I honestly don't think it will unless you're not willing to embrace and learn that new technology. It's kind of like taking us back 25 years and saying, hey, you have to use a computer now at work. And you say, you know what, I don't want to use that computer. I'm just going to go old school with them. I use my paper and whatever the case is. And at some point, you become antiquated in that and you can't do things as efficiently and as quickly and effectively. I think that that's the evolution that's coming. We're really trying inside of our firm to leverage AI and complement with our human intelligence to combine those resources to do projects quicker, more efficiently, at lower cost so that we can do them at more value. I think that's definitely something that organizations should consider of finding a way of marrying up the human element of it with the artificial intelligence. And then in the spirit of HR, here's the thing. I get a lot of complaints from human resource professionals that suggest, well, I'm so busy doing open enrollment or sourcing for candidates or spending time in administrative tasks that I don't have the ability to do leadership development training. I don't have time to do succession planning. We don't have a great performance management methodology. Well, if you allow AI to complement the administrative tasks that you don't really want to be doing or are required for you to do because they're blocking and tackling, if you let that happen, now you have more time for the more strategic elements of human resources. Like I said, developing your leaders, succession planning, performance management.
Yeah, for sure. It's all about getting that right balance. I think that's the key. And when a challenge hits, whether it's, I don't know, losing a client or internal struggles or making shifts, how do you personally reset and move forward?
Timing of your question, Sam, is probably couldn't be more profound. I've had a couple of things happen in the last 48 hours, and it's been kind of a wild, crazy new challenge that we're facing. And here's what I realize when those things happen, this is how I describe it a lot to people that lose their job. And this is what I felt recently is it feels like, and again, I hope no one's ever had to experience this, but you're in a prize fight with Mike Tyson in his heyday. And Mike Tyson just popped you with his left hand right in the stomach and he took your breath away. And as you're going to kind of move your head down, he comes with a right uppercut right to your chin. And you are dazed and bewildered. And you're smiling as I see you going, oh gosh, maybe you're a fighter or you've done some MMA and you get the feeling of what it's like to get punched in the nose. And basically there's a saying, I'm not going to say it right, but everybody has a plan and then they get popped in the nose
Yeah,
really hard.
that's it.
And what I try to do when that happens is give myself grace of immersing into the emotions that I have. and knowing that it's frustrating, that I'm upset, I'm disappointed. I go through all those emotions. I don't know whether grieving is the right word to use, but I do that as quickly as I possibly can. I process those things in my head as quickly as I can. And then I look at what do I need to do to remedy this situation and mitigate the risk associated with it? And then what's our plan in the short, medium, and long term? And I get hyper focused on that, and I rally a few key team members on my staff to bounce ideas off of it, because I don't want to make those decisions on an island by myself. 15 years ago, when I just founded my firm, I didn't have a choice. And I actually wrote about it in my book. I would ask my super smart German Shepherd mutt, Lucy, hey, what do you think I should do in this situation? And here I am talking to a canine about what I should do at business. Now I'm super fortunate to have some wickedly smart people that I can bounce ideas off of, and we can be strategic in how we deal with these scenarios. The other thing that I would say that has helped us quite a bit is that we've done a lot around building process and using systems, and we are not necessarily as overly dependent upon people. And when they leave, we can plug someone else new into the role much easier than if it was a completely manual process or someone never disclosed how they actually do their job. Those are typically the ways I go about dealing with challenges, or that literal punch to the gut and uppercut to the nose.
Yeah, for sure. Sounds painful, that. And what's the biggest kind of vision for Willowry over the next 5 years? Where do you want to take it?
My vision for the firm is to continue to pour our hearts into serving the community that we are blessed to work with every day in human resources and payroll. We want to be subject matter experts. We want to be thought leaders. We want to be sought after. We also want to be a friend to them. It's a very isolating job to be in HR and payroll. And a lot of times, the people that are doing that are as good of salt of the earth individuals as you're going to meet. And they often feel alone and isolated. And we want to be able to be there for them, not only as a friend or as a colleague or someone to share their frustrations or their great new opportunities, but when they need something, we want to bring them domain expertise. And as a result of that, what are we doing? We're innovating some new products inside of the services that we offer. We do 4 things focused on people, on HR technology selection, on implementation of HR technology and business transformation. And we constantly want to be evolving those technologies and those solution sets that we have. At the same time, making sure that we're continuing to hire and acquire top talent, we give them great opportunities, and we develop them. I think if we do that effectively, we'll be able to navigate through all the ups and downs and all the pivots in the market, because people will recognize that we are truly here to serve. Of course, we need to make money, but if we use money as our primary objective, then sometimes you are having the tail, in essence, wag the dog, and that's never great for anyone inside of any business.
And for our audience, how can they get in touch with yourself and find a bit more about Willowry, and also listen to your podcast?
Yeah, you can find me just simply through my email address, john@willowry.com. That's JOHN at WILLORY.com. And you can find us through primarily LinkedIn, social media. We do a lot of work there. There's 3 main brands that you'll follow there. One is me, John Bernatovicz, long last name. I won't spell it because it'll take up too much time. Second is our page through Willowry, and our page through HR Like a Boss.
Perfect. John, thanks so much. It's been a great conversation. Really appreciate it.
Sam, keep doing what you're doing. I appreciate your spirit, and thank you for your time.
Thank you. Good luck.